Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and we are finally back with my series called WWE's Best Wrestlers Tournament. And last time we saw the best Lucha Libre, Eddie Guerrero, win that tournament. And now, guys, we are here to find out who the best American wrestler is of all time in WWE history. And in the first round, our first match, getting right out of the gate, we got a fantasy match. We got Daniel Bryan taking on the Undertaker, David and Goliath right out of the gate, guys, and just a regular single match, guys. And if this is your first video you've seen of my WWE Best Wrestlers Tournament, guys, consider yourself lucky. And I would suggest you go check out my other videos of my WWE Best Wrestlers Tournament. And this is a great way to start off this fantasy matchup, as these two are just going to go right out of the gate, guys. And what a way to start out this tournament, guys, of fantasy matchups, of everything in between. You never know what you're going to get in these types of tournaments, guys. You just never know. And we see these two going back and forth as it starts off. And these two are definitely going to put on a show in the first round. These two are going to give it everything they got. These two are definitely looking for the respect of being considered the best American wrestler of all time. You look at these two. These two are from very different generations, even though they wrestled at one point at the same time. You see Undertaker, more of an old school wrestler, more of a guy who came around in the 80s and the 90s and made his way in the 2000s. This guy made his debut probably in the late 80s and made his name in the late 90s. And definitely made his name in the 2000s. And then you see a guy in Daniel Bryan who hasn't really made his name. He made his way on the indies. He had the tough task of doing it, guys. These two are considered wrestlers, great wrestlers in their own right. Daniel Bryan took the tough task of the indie scene. He took the tough task of wrestling in bingo halls and auditoriums just to make it to this point. He just won the world champion, and he is the current world champion. The Undertaker has been there and done that. He is a 5-time world champion. Excuse me if I got that number wrong. 5 or 6-time champion. As we see these two definitely going at it, as Daniel Bryan's a big running forearm there. And these two definitely different styles here. Daniel Bryan with the more of a grappler, high-flying style. Undertaker more of the brutal, I'll punch you in the face and you're going to like it style. More of the very brutal style. Daniel Bryan can be brutal with that big roundhouse hit kick. That's why fans will be chanting in the auditoriums, "You're going to get your effing head kicked in." They would say that all the time, and Undertaker's definitely going to have to watch out for that. But these two are putting a show on early on. And a little bit of a recap of what's happened so far in the tournament. This is the start of my new tournament, the Best American Wrestler Tournament, to find out who the best American wrestler. And I picked the best 16 wrestlers I believed were the best American wrestlers in this game on television in the WWE of all time, as Undertaker hits a big running DDT there, definitely working on the head of Daniel Bryan. And if you didn't check out the best Lucha Libre tournament, we had a short little tournament, a little bit of a preview of what was going to come in this American tournament, where we were going to see who the best Lucha Libre was of all time. And without a doubt, we found out who the best Lucha Libre of all time was. And many people thought this before the tournament, but it is finally proven that Eddie Guerrero can finally put the title of the best Lucha Libre of all time. Eddie Guerrero, who's held so many titles in his day, so many things to be proud of in the WWE. Finally, he has one more thing he can put on his resume. Already a Hall of Famer, Undertaker is in his own right, and Daniel Bryan could become that if he keeps on the path that he is, as Undertaker is definitely showing the strength. We also know that Undertaker is definitely the stronger of these two, but Daniel Bryan definitely has more will. He's a more technical wrestler than Undertaker, even though these two are definitely great wrestlers. As Undertaker for another big DDT there, and Undertaker definitely showing Daniel Bryan the ropes here. And Daniel Bryan, many may consider Undertaker the veteran in this match, but Daniel Bryan has been going with wrestling for almost 10 plus, has been going for 10 plus years, maybe even 15 years. So you are definitely not going to call Daniel Bryan a young buck in this. You're not going to call Daniel Bryan somebody to be messed with, somebody who doesn't know the ropes. This guy knows his way in and out of the wrestling world. He knows his way around a ring. He knows every move like the back of his hand. This guy knows every submission move he can anybody can put in. He knows the Hell's Gates like the back of his hand. And speaking of submission maneuvers, these two definitely have submission moves that will definitely make you cry in agony. These two wrestlers, you can call them wrestlers. They are definitely not sports entertainers. These two are wrestlers. These two go back and forth as we see in this matchup. Definitely a great matchup to start this series off. The Undertaker versus Daniel Bryan, a fantasy matchup. And like I was saying, these two definitely know their submission maneuvers. These two know submission maneuvers like the back of their hand. And these two have one of the best finishing submission maneuvers in all of wrestling today. Daniel Bryan, which was called the label lock when he came into the WWE, now known as the yes lock and no lock. It definitely is a modified crossface, I'm sorry. And then you see The Undertaker with Hell's Gates, one of the most deadly submission maneuvers coming out of nowhere, just like Daniel Bryan's. They can connect at any time. But also, guys, these two wrestlers definitely have other devastating finisher maneuvers. Just because they have one of the best submission maneuvers in WWE today does not mean they are only about submissions. These two definitely are one of the best and have one of the best finishers in the wrestling world today besides their submissions. You look at Daniel Bryan with his big running knee that can knock out an opponent out of nowhere. Then you look at Undertaker, maybe one of the most famous special moves, finisher moves in the WWE today, the Tombstone Piledriver, used by many. The Piledriver, many consider to be banned in the WWE as Undertaker has a big bulldog there. But Undertaker does not really follow the rules. He is a fan favorite, but this man is definitely an outlaw. He is definitely a dead man, and Daniel Bryan's a big German suplex there. So you look at these two have accomplished a lot. Daniel Bryan, a former world heavyweight champion, a former WWE champion, and now Undertaker looking to go to work with a big sidewalk slam there by The Undertaker. You look at the accomplishments of The Undertaker, as Daniel Bryan's a big flying forearm there. Undertaker obviously has won many championships in his time. He's been in feuds with every superstar imaginable. People like Shawn Michaels, people like Triple H. You see people like that. You see people like Kurt Angle, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's made it through all those matches. He is still here in the WWE fighting. Most of the superstars were not able to beat The Undertaker. Most of the superstars have left the WWE, and those superstars who are still here in the WWE fear The Undertaker. As Daniel Bryan, a lot of combinations of kick and punches. That's a way you're definitely going to have to take down The Undertaker. You're definitely going to have to wear down the dead man if you want to beat him. And look, just what I was talking about. Undertaker is a man of submissions, but Daniel Bryan also is a man of submissions too. So these two are definitely going to go at it. These two know how to beat each other. These two know what weaknesses every other opponent has, including their opponents right now. And these two are just putting a clinic up right now. You got to wonder, how are the other superstars? How is the match following this and the matches to fall after going to live up to this type of matchup, guys? How is it going to live up? You got to feel bad for the superstars who are watching this match. They know this is a fantasy matchup at its finest. And a big DDT on the outside. Little padding there, guys. This is gonna be an all-out war between Daniel Bryan and Undertaker. These two want it all. These two want to win it like nobody's business. And a big kick off the apron. Undertaker is going to be feeling that one. But the question is, how much do these superstars have? You definitely do not want to exert all your energy in the first round. Then you have to face the next line of opponents just waiting, looking at what you've done so far, looking at what your weaknesses and advantages are. and Undertaker going for the big, no, he tried to go for the chokeslam, but Daniel Bryan reversed it. And Undertaker gonna go for the big chokeslam and big impact if Daniel Bryan gets smacked right into the mat. And that could be it, guys. Is Undertaker moving on to round number 2? No, Daniel Bryan kicks out at 2. Oh no, Undertaker with his vaunted tombstone pile driver connecting. That's gotta be it, ladies and gentlemen. Is Daniel Bryan done? Is Undertaker moving on to the second round? Yes, what a matchup. But in the end, the Dead Man is moving on to the second round in the tournament, guys. What a matchup as we see these amazing replays here of this amazing singles match. These men didn't even need a stipulation to make this match amazing. As we saw, Daniel Bryan gave it everything he had. He gave the will of a champion. But in the end, Undertaker got that 3 count. Undertaker got that 3 count after hitting this big tombstone pile driver, after hitting the big choke slam. And Daniel Bryan just couldn't take it. But you gotta give your hats off to both competitors. Even though Daniel Bryan lost, Undertaker put a hell of a show. Daniel Bryan put on a hell of a show. And how is the next match gonna follow this one, guys? As the Dead Man, the Phenom, moving on to the second round in this tournament, guys. The Dead Man must be feeling pretty proud of himself. But you gotta give a golfer's clap to Daniel Bryan for giving everything he has and more in this tournament, guys. These two superstars basically told all the superstars what they're expecting to be in this tournament and what this tournament's all about and what level of competition's gonna be in this tournament, guys. So we're gonna look up at our updated bracket now, guys. As we see Undertaker moving on to the second round, and who will face the Undertaker, Brock Lesnar or Ricky Steamboat. But next, in the next first round matchup, we have Ted DiBiase taking on Mick Foley. And who knows what's going to happen in that match. Two big names going at it.